Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of a musical legend and the instrument he made famous around the entire world. It's a story about transformation, about deep personal dedication, and really about the soul of a nation captured in a single sound. All right, let's get into it. So our story kicks off with a real puzzle. It starts with a royal ban, an emperor decreeing that a certain sound was just not allowed. And yet, out of that very same ban, an entirely new instrument was born, one whose sound became tied to all things good: blessings, weddings, sacred moments. This is the story of the Shehnai, and more than that, it's the story of the man who took that instrument from the courtyards of temples and put it on the world's biggest stages, the one and only Ustad Bismillah Khan. Now, to really get the story of the master, you've got to start with his instrument. And the Shehnai's origin story, believe it or not, begins with another instrument getting kicked out of court. So it all started with this thing called the pungi. The Emperor Aurangzeb, he just couldn't stand its sound. He thought it was shrill and unpleasant, and he basically banned the noisemaker from his royal court. But a court musician, who happened to be a barber by trade, he saw a chance here. He got a pipe that was a bit longer, a little broader, drilled 7 holes in it, and when he played it, wow, the sound was totally different. It was soft, it was melodious, and people immediately felt it was auspicious, a blessed sound. That new instrument was the Shehnai. And the name? Well, the legend is pretty cool. Since it was first played in the Shah's chambers, that's the emperor, by a nai, which means barber, they just kind of smushed the words together. Shehnai. A perfect name born right out of its royal debut. Okay, so the Shehnai is born. But an instrument is just a tool until it finds its true master. And this instrument's master was a young boy from Bihar, and his journey was just about to begin. From the very beginning, Bismillah Khan's life was just drenched in music. When he was only 3 years old, he was completely mesmerized watching his uncles play the Shehnai. And that fascination turned into real talent fast. By age 5, he was winning giant ladus, sweets, for singing at a local temple. But his real training, his real apprenticeship, happened alone, right on the banks of the river Ganga. He'd sit there and practice for hours on end, letting the flow of the water inspire him to create new ragas, melodies people didn't even think were possible, on the Shehnai. By the time he was 14, his gift was just undeniable. And that talent didn't go unnoticed. When he was just 14, playing at the famous Allahabad Music Conference, he caught the attention of the great Ustad Khan. The master saw his potential and gave him this single, powerful piece of advice: work hard and you shall make it. It was like a prophecy for the rest of his life. And boy, did he make it. Bismillah Khan's path took him from being this local wonder kid to becoming the actual musical voice of a brand new nation. His big break really came in 1938. All India radio launched in Lucknow, and suddenly the sound of his Shehnai wasn't just in temples or music halls anymore, it was being broadcast all across the country. He became one of the most heard artists in all of India, almost overnight. But the performance that would seal his place in history, well, that was still to come. The date was August 15th, 1947. The location, the historic Red Fort in Delhi. India was on the verge of waking up to life and freedom. On that monumental day, before Prime Minister Nehru gave his famous Tryst with Destiny speech, one person was chosen to greet the dawn of independence with his music. And it was Bismillah Khan. He stood there, at the Red Fort, and played Rag Kafi on his Shehnai. He, quite literally, became the first Indian to greet a free India. A moment like that, it just catapulted him to national icon status. And that soon turned into international fame. But through it all, he remained this deeply humble and principled man. I mean, the world just couldn't get enough. He became a true global ambassador for Indian culture. He was the very first Indian invited to perform at the legendary Lincoln Center Hall in the USA. He played at the World Exposition in Montreal, the Cannes Art Festival, the Osaka Trade Fair. His music was everywhere. He was so loved in Iran that they even named an auditorium in Tehran after him. Of course, the film industry came knocking. One of his songs for a movie was a massive nationwide hit. But even after that huge success, he only ever worked on 2 films. Why? Well, he said it himself. He just couldn't get on board with the artificiality and glamour of the movie business. His music came from a pure place, and he was going to keep it that way. And that refusal of all the glitz, that really gets to the heart of who he was. Because more than fame, more than money, his soul was tied to one place, the city of Benaras and the river Ganga. So here's a story. At one point, a student of his made him this amazing offer: come to the United States and head up a Shehnai school. The student even promised he would recreate the entire atmosphere of Benaras right there, temples and all. But Bismillah Khan's reply was just perfect, poetic, and final. He asked, "But will you be able to transport the river Ganga as well?" You see, for him, Benaras wasn't just buildings. It was the holy river. He knew that his inspiration, the thing that fed his soul, couldn't be copied. He famously said whenever he was abroad, he longed for India. But whenever he was in Mumbai, he missed Benaras and the Ganga. And this deep, deep rootedness, it was tested again during the partition of India in 1947. Because of his faith, a lot of people wondered if he and his family would decide to move to the new country of Pakistan. His answer was so quick and so firm. God forbid me leave Benaras? Never. He actually joked about it later, saying he once went across the border for about an hour just to say he'd been there, said his salam, and came right back. His home was India. Period. And really, it's this unbreakable bond with his roots, with his art, and with his nation that truly defines his incredible legacy. When you step back and look at his life, Ustad Bismillah Khan is a perfect symbol of India's rich composite culture. Here was a devout Muslim whose absolute passion was to play his Shehnai every single morning at one of Hinduism's most sacred spots, the Kashi Vishwanath temple. And it was for this lifetime of devotion to both his music and to unity that he was given the Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian honor, which kind of leaves us with one last thought. In a world that's always chasing the next big thing, chasing riches and fame, what can we learn from a man who found everything he ever wanted right there on the banks of a holy river, channeled through the single pure sound of his Shehnai? Thanks for joining us on The